I just don't. I wish I had more energy for these things. I could actually make a very nice little.
Hey, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. Listen, if I'm going to be completely honest, which I rarely am, the truth is the sponsor of this video asked me to do something Marvel related. No shade towards them at all, it only makes sense. They probably asked because Marvel related videos tend to rake in the most views, probably because Marvel always dominates the conversation, probably because my hyperbolic Marvel rambles are what introduced us to each other. Never intended for that to be the case. I imagined I get to know all of you through my own art and not talking about the work of others, but it's almost never your proudest achievement, your most personal expression that gets you the attention. Anyways, Martin Scorsese is doing the rounds of press for Killers of the Flower Moon, a movie I am unbelievably excited for, a movie that very well might be his last. That hurts, man, and he knows it. GQ put out a wonderful interview piece written by Zach Baron, and it is truly one of the best interviews to come from the legend probably ever. There are so many beautiful raw moments of Marty reflecting upon his own mortality, his own loneliness, and how that loneliness, that unbelonging has always, for better or worse, fueled his passion for cinema. He confesses to so much, gives so much truth, the kind of wisdom that only age can provide. You don't need to care about film for his words to hit, you just have to have a passion for something. At 80 years old, he is more passionate than most young punks I know. At 80, he has lived such a life filled with regret, with success. At 80, nobody really cares. I care, you might care, but the culture, the internet, the press, only one section of that interview speaks to them. One quote, one exaggerated headline has taken the timeline by storm. Again, care to guess what it's about?
Danger of comic book films. He said that
Marvel, bad.
With some criticizing the director, bringing up topics of diversity, privilege, and elitism.
There hasn't been anybody as outspoken against comic book movies than Martin Scorsese.
The director insisted superhero popcorn movies that depend heavily on special effects no longer represent cinema.
Marvel, bad.
But before we get into it, I found a new way to get paid for sharing my opinion, which I somehow get to do for a living, and now you can too with Ipsos Essay. Ipsos Essay is a survey-based company that wants your opinion in exchange for gift card rewards you can use to buy your favorite things. By taking part in research and answering simple survey questions, I earn extra cash via gift cards and rewards. There's tons of gift cards to choose from, but my go-to has got to be Amazon. The surveys are damn quick and dumb easy, and you can tailor the surveys to be more focused on your interest and passion, so it never gets boring, man. With the gift card I got, I managed to snag myself some film gear so that our Jason movie doesn't look like a complete pile of garbage. If you want to start earning some more passive cashola for doing simple surveys, click the link to start earning rewards with Ipsos Essay today. Thanks, guys. The danger there is what it's doing to our culture, because there are going to be generations now that think movies are only those. That's what movies are. Anyways, you might not know this about me, probably assumed, but as a 24-year-old pretentious white filmmaker, Martin Scorsese is one of my heroes. Always working from outside the system, killing himself for the art, literally. No, like in his younger years, the man was insane, willing to be broke, leave his family, and do so much coke that he's hospitalized, kind of insanity. I'm not condoning that behavior, neither does he. Look at his movies. The point is, as someone who has always wanted to and has just made his first feature film, Marty was always there, in spirit, in my corner. In between my panic attacks on set and too many late nights drinking the anxiety away, stuck in the endless destructive loop that creation too often causes, Sam Raimi and Scorsese interviews were played on loop.
When we made Evil Dead,
Composition is forced, lighting is bad, angle is off. We have the protagonist, but where's the antagonist? Huh? Where's the drama?
His voice was in my head on set, his advice, his guidance, the times he fucked up. I think a lot of people assume that he was always accepted as a brilliant artist, a game changer. I think if you're young like me, you only know him as the passionate old legend, the sweet, brilliant, small old man who has more energy than you and me combined. He wasn't always that way. He was young, he was obsessive, he was compulsive, he alienated people, he made the wrong choices, he found his way through. He wasn't a hit director, right out the gate. Fuck, he never really was. Scorsese is associated with movies. Everyone knows his name. And for that reason, us young folk tend to assume that all his films, the ones that everyone has told you are classics, changed the culture on arrival, made bank at the box office. They never really did. Raging Bull, one of my favorite movies, bomb, barely turned a profit. Bringing Out the Dead, Nicolas Cage, Paul Schrader, and Scorsese, I'd kill to see that combination again. Guess what? Dead on arrival. Silence did not even make his budget back, lost the studio $26 million. Fuck me, man, a movie directed by him starring De Niro, Pacino, Pesci, guess where that had to go? Straight to fucking Netflix. Marty was always fighting the studio system, the academy. He never belonged there. He never made movies to make money. He made them to express his world, his experiences growing up, his turmoil.
Lord, I'm not worthy to eat your flesh, not worthy to drink your blood.
Talking about box office numbers like films are some kind of horse race, ooh, gross. Considering film a product, content, disposable, try disgusting to people like him.
And since the 80s, there's been, a focus on numbers. It's kind of repulsive. It's like the opening weekend, how much it made in the entire world, how many views it got. And as a filmmaker and as a person who can't imagine life without cinema, I've always find it really insulting.
Is it really that surprising that someone who has fought so hard for the artist, the individual expression, would be against a giant machine that will always screw over the individual for the sake of the masses? I mean, what is so hard to grasp about that? And he's right. You can say whatever you want, but these are becoming the only movies that we collectively talk about. And those movies, more and more each year, believe they need the artist less and less. There are always exceptions, but even the most die-hard of fans know that somewhere along the way, these things got worse. Call it laziness, call it green screen, call it a theme park, I call it lack of voice. The MCU became so popular, became so all-consuming that clowns like Iger started to believe you did not need the singing voice of the writers, the unclouded vision of the director. As long as your favorite hero is on the poster, you will pay to see whatever they create in post.
It's too late. Look at me. I'm such a dick.
His opinion is not an insult to our belief that these superheroes, these movies can create real change, can be real art, can inspire a generation of artists. Scorsese being worried about the future of art is entirely warranted because so many of these big movies forget the artist and bank on the fact that the audience will as well. So why do we, people like you or me, fans, get so defensive about these characters? You probably know this about me, but Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Daredevil, Captain America, The Guardians, the universe of comic book stories has saved my life so many times. My entire YouTube channel, the thing that saved me from ending up completely broke, completely isolated, is founded on the love of the characters that now consume our culture. My first feature film, inspired heavily, whether I am humble enough to admit it or not, by Marty's work, is about one of those comic book characters. I like to think our Jason Todd movie would be considered cinema and not a theme park ride. I'd like to think an indie film made for 30 grand on the streets of our hometown would make old Scorsese smile, would be considered a piece of expression and not a corporate machine programmed by AI.
Well, Mr. Scorsese, let me tell you something about freedom. Freedom means people get to choose what they want to watch.
But I'm not going to argue with one of the people who inspired it, because compared to him, what the fuck do any of us know about cinema? All we know is how we feel. To me, cinema is creating a feeling. Someone smarter than me called movies the ultimate empathy machines. And I believe so many superhero movies get the importance of that. In a sense, these movies should be the most cinema, should be the most expressive, the most healing. Sad truth is, a lot of the time, they are not. The reason we get defensive, the reason why that small section of that brilliant interview, that small quote a few years back that ground the gears of geeks everywhere, is because those characters, those heroes, a part of the Marvel machine, they are our friends. They became our friends. You were sticking gum to the underside of your uncomfortable lunchroom table when you saw Iron Man. You were smoking your first joint or crushing on your first love when you saw Avengers. You were headed off into the world on your own when it all came to an endgame. Steve, Tony, Thor, and everyone else at some point in your life gave you hope. Maybe it didn't seem meaningful at the time. Maybe reading that first Spider-Man comic is a memory you forgot. But at one point, one core moment, if you're like me, you looked up at that screen and escaped, if only for a few hours, and were reminded that people can be good, can be selfless, and can be heroic. Jumping into other movies, other genres is scary because there is no promise of permanence. Maybe the character you grow attached to won't survive. Maybe things don't get better. The world is so bleak right now that you want to be comfortable. I can't blame you. I do the exact same thing. Why take a gamble on a low-budget indie like Return to Seoul when you can see your old pals go on another adventure? We can't fault ourselves. You can't fault the audience for wanting to see their friends who help them at every age find the strength to keep moving forward. I honestly think this year has begun a turning point of sorts. Barbie and Oppenheimer were more talked about than any superhero flick. I saw more requests to do videos on The Bear, which is a straight masterpiece that I would love to talk about, than I did for Secret Invasion. Maybe we are at a turning point. Or maybe this is the best it will get. Maybe Marty's great fear will come true. That you will have to go out of your way to see any movie in a theater that doesn't contain a caped hero. You won't be able to go to your local AMC, Regal, Cinemark, but instead to the small independent theater that is on the verge of bankruptcy. Seeing Good Time in the theater rocked my world. Same goes for the first time I watched Her, first time I ever saw The Shining, Anomalisa, Wolf of Wall Street. Being a teenager and being able to see those movies on the big screen, Jesus. The idea that the next generation won't even have the choice to experience something like that, terrifying. To him, to me, hell, fuck a theater. The next Taxi Driver might be released alongside Love Island Season 4. The next Raging Bull will be a part of the Disney Plus bundle. Hopefully the streaming algorithm recommends it to you. Probably won't. Instead they will push Spider-Man, Please Take Me the Fuck Home. This isn't an old man screaming at clouds. This is the truth. I've always loved superheroes and loved talking about them, but I'd be lying if I said I haven't felt the urge to discuss other movies. I would be lying if I said I wasn't trapped in the bubble, wasn't a part of the problem. I totally am. I am the problem. I am a massive part of the problem. But as someone who loves some of Marvel's movies just as much as I love Marty's, as someone who was inspired by both Spider-Man and Scorsese, rescued by both of them, I hope that there is a solution. Sometimes you can have more than one comfort food, one friend. The way I got into movies was by following the work of one filmmaker, making them my metaphorical friend just as much as Peter Parker was. Hell, I only watched Evil Dead because of how much I loved Spider-Man. I only watched The Prestige because I loved Batman Begins. I only watched Pan's Labyrinth because I loved Hellboy. Only found out about Andrea Arnold because I loved Michael Fassbender so much in First Class that I watched Fish Tank. Now American Honey is one of my favorites. Find one filmmaker who speaks to you and then just dive in. Support movies that are different, because whether or not you agree with the idea that Marvel movies, superhero movies aren't cinema, I think we can all agree that we are sick of the same. So fuck it, go in blind. Some of my favorite movies of the year I saw one random night because I felt like going to the movies and the poster looked dope. I don't mean to lecture, I'm not pretending that I have a degree in Scorsese or Marvel or any degree for that matter. Just figured I might be the perfect guy to ramble about this. I am the dude who, even though he makes movies, doesn't talk about other movies, at least with you. I'm sorry. I hope to change that once I'm done making mine. But I'm scared that you guys won't watch, that I'll go broke and I'll lose my audience. Just as much as the studios are scared you won't show up to anything different. Just as much as Martin Scorsese is scared that the future of cinema, after he's long gone, won't have room for the friends, the films that made him feel a little less lonely. Maybe we should prove them all wrong.
The most important thing I can convey to you is that you always have to find your own way. You can be inspired, you can learn about cameras and sound equipment, editing tools, but in the end, it's just you. Remember that amidst all that machinery, you're the one who's going to make the picture. It's just you and the thing that sparked you to make the film. You and the spark. In the end, they're one and the same. You guard that because it's precious.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. This was a little bit different than usual. I hope you even watched. I mean, this will probably bomb, right? Because it's like Captain America isn't the thumbnail. Maybe I'm wrong. That'd be really cool. Anyways, working on Jason Todd. My brain is completely fried doing these videos, and also working on our first feature film. But I thank you for the support and the chance that you have given me to even do any of this stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye. Have a lovely day.
I was tempted.